Let me just read a little quote from an article by George Dorofsky and James Hughes. It's called Postgenderism Beyond the Gender Binary. Okay, here's what they say. Efforts to treat female depression and male aggression, autism, and ADD would give us ways to make the brain more androgynous.
Hmm.
Pause there for just a second. You notice the positive PR front, right? It's to treat depression and aggression and autism and ADD. Well, who doesn't want to do that, right? But then give us ways to make, by the way, make the brain more androgynous. And they go on to write that Francis Fukuyama lamented these trends, the masculization or the masculizing of depressive women's moods by antidepressants and the feminizing of ADD boys with stimulant medications in our post-human future, referring to Francis Fukuyama's book, asserting that they were the result of pressure to conform to an androgynous median personality in American society. Okay, so this isn't about accidents. This is not about just confused youth. This is about a concerted biochemical effort. So, what they're just to break it down, for instance, a boy's body is developing as it was designed to into the body of a man with the musculature of a man, the skeletal structure of a man, the mind of a man, but their system's being flooded with estrogen or pseudoestrogen. So the body's literally biochemically confused. Likewise with the female. The girl's body's trying to develop in the body of the woman, but it's being flooded with testosterone. So what do their bodies do with it? And that's why so many youth today are sort of blob like, right? It's hard to tell what they are, not just because they start dressing in an androgynous manner, but because their bodies are literally biochemically confused. And along with that comes the spiritual issues, the psychological issues. It's like, again, it's an art of war.
By the way, this is just for free, but I never eat margarine. I never call margarine butter. And for some reason, all my life I've despised margarine. I can remember clear back when we were first married, my wife would buy it because she handles the budget and does an excellent job, and you can save money there. It's quite a bit cheaper than butter. But for some reason, I would never allow margarine in our house. I found out since that margarine has a fatty acid in it that the body cannot assimilate, and it stays in the system at all times, and it inhibits certain hormone production in men, and it, in essence, over a period of time, helps castrate the male populace.
So this isn't condemnation, but it's an observation that you're going to end up with people who are moving towards that blob-like state, whether it's mental or physical, due to the incredible pressure to worship women above the biblical order and to, to cast aspersion on men for being men. And so these are the philosophical underpinnings that make us think that, oh, we need to rewire the brain so that we get rid of aggression. And we need to rewire the brain so that there's a more feminist friendly view or even feminist friendly feelings. And again, we see an attack at the root of the biblical order, but we especially see this is when I'm counseling people and talk about certain things sometimes. I talk about how almost all of the problems that we have in American culture, youth culture right now would be solved if they would just go to another country. If they would just get up and go to South Korea like I did for a year, they would see a homogenous population that doesn't give a rat's patoot about how they feel about gender and identity roles. They don't like us. They're going to treat you like they don't like you. You don't have the same social access. There's things in that you just have to accept. But Western culture is so rotten at the core that we're rolling over for all of this. And what bothers me the most is that the church is so ill prepared. They're miserable. How do we, what do we do to get in there and get them to understand if you would just move into the role that's been ordained for you, you will be a much happier person. They're miserable people and they're all in the wrong roles.
I just got here from Taiwan. Let me tell you, people don't live on unemployment and food stamps and get to sit around watching Netflix all day. They work hard in Asia. I just spent 15 years out there, and it's just, it's like a weird sci-fi Soviet dystopic nightmare to come back to America.
Did anyone see it's some kind of like official China account on Twitter that they put out where it's almost like they were trolling SJWs in the West because they said that they used specifically used feminism to cull their populations, because once you get women thinking along that line, the birth rate dramatically declines. And it's just like that's another way that they're doing it. They don't even have to use like any type of GMO or anything. They can just plug things into the culture in one generation, and in the next generation, we end up with the same thing.
It's interesting you say that because I listened to a show once on the radio, and they did point out the fact that traditionally, when a culture wants to reduce its birth rate, it'll make sure the women get educated because then their time is worth more and they'll put more time into earning money. It's strictly economics, but it is also true that the more secular a society becomes, the less children they'll have because, face it, why have another bioorganism that's taking up your precious resources, right?
Well, they can't understand why they're not happy because, first of all, they don't have a job. They don't understand why they're not happy. Second of all, they don't have a wife or a husband. They don't understand why they're not happy. And third of all, they don't have kids. And let me ask you something. Isn't that exactly what Babylon promotes? The swinging lifestyle? You don't want kids to tie you down. You got to find your career, babes. You've come a long ways. A long ways from God's plan. And this is exactly what they promote. You know, get something for nothing is what Babylon says. Why work hard?
And so we need to understand that the woman is made to be a help unto her husband, not vice versa. It's not the woman to go out and fulfill all her life. And I'm trying to think of the word, but I remember my wife, when we first got married and she started having kids, she started drawing criticism from some of her extended family. And they were telling her that her wonderful humanistic education was going to waste, and how all of her education and college and learning is all being wasted. I'm trying to translate it into English, but they said, you know, don't you feel that you need to go out and fulfill yourself? Don't you need to go out and realize your full potential? Don't you need to go out and be fulfilled? And today, we have little girls that are being brought up. You know, when you grow up, you could be whatever you want. You know, they want to be a marine biologist, they want to be an astronaut, they want to be a lawyer, they want to be all these things. You know, that's not what the Bible says. The Bible says that they should marry, bear children, and guide the house. That's what the Bible says. So this attitude that just says, well, I got to get my career going. You know, I'm going to get my career, you know what, and I'm going to get my PhD and my career and my master's and my this, my that, and then, you know, I need to find also a place for a husband in my life. And, you know, when I'm ready in my late 30s, I'm going to think about having kids. I mean, is that what the Bible teaches is a Christian lifestyle? No. So to sit there and just have this attitude of like, well, I'm going to add a husband to my life. No, when you get married, you know what you're doing? You're signing on to be that guy's helper. You're playing second fiddle to your husband for the rest of your life. You are not the main event in that family, in that household. That is what the Bible teaches. 1 Corinthians 11:7. For a man indeed ought not to cover his head, for as much as he is the image and glory of God, but the woman is the glory of the man. For the man is not of the woman, but the woman of the man. Neither was the man created for the woman, but the woman for the man. And in too many marriages today, the tail wags the dog. And we have a situation where the man is not considered the leader. He's not considered at the forefront. It's her goals. It's her ambition. She's leading. That's not biblical. And you know what, ladies? I mean, if you can't look at the guy that you're thinking about marrying, young ladies that are single, if you can't look at him and say, you know what, this is somebody that I want to follow. This is somebody that I want to help. This is somebody that I want to submit to. This is someone that I want to lead me for the rest of my life, then you should not marry that guy. Because when you get married, that's what you're signing on for, if it's a biblical marriage.